Hello guys. Gosh. Um where do I begin? My name is Bella, in case this is your first video ever, and today I'm going to be talking through my experience with my first trimester of pregnancy. I am officially out of the woods with first trimester energy. First trimester was giving me bad vibes, okay? So I'm happy to be out of the woods now. I am firmly planted in my second trimester as at the time I'm making this video, so I felt like this would be an appropriate time. Also, I am on vacation and I am also home alone, so it felt like the most adequate and convenient time to attempt to make this video. What I was doing for the duration of my first trimester was writing down symptoms and maybe things that I noticed at that point in time, so that when I'm having this conversation I have something to go by. And I tried my best to do like week by week. So I actually found out I was pregnant really early. Like, when I say really early, I mean like I found out like a week after implantation happened. So like a week before my period was supposed to come, I had already found out that I was pregnant. And I spoke about that in my pregnancy announcement, how I found out I was pregnant video. That's the reason that I ended up taking a pregnancy test. It wasn't necessarily because I was like, yeah, I can't wait until my period and stuff and just find out. It was more along the lines of, anyway, I spoke about it. I don't want to be repeating myself. If you haven't watched the video, I'll put it up here so they can go back and watch it. So now, going into 4 or 5 weeks pregnant, I started to experience a lot of gas. I was really gassy. Like, I was burping a lot. I wasn't even farting, I was just burping a lot. I had a lot of bloating. Like, I was extremely bloated. I felt heavy. I felt like every salty thing I ate, I was just retaining water. And I felt it all over my body, even though it was mostly my stomach that was bloated, because I felt it everywhere. Started feeling the tiredness, like I was tired all the time. My sense of smell, which is already pretty strong from the last time that I had when I was pregnant with Zoe, it got so much stronger. So I could smell things that were happening like outside. I could smell if somebody was like at my door and I was like some feet away from the door, I would be able to smell the perfume of the person. And then I started to also have quite frequent cramps. So I would have like kind of almost a thing of like a tightening, like your uterus is remembering. I feel like, I don't know if this happens for first time moms. It's so hilarious that I can say that. I don't know if it happens for first time moms, but I honestly feel like when you've had a child, your body remembers the experience of like being pregnant and stuff. So when you're pregnant again, your body actively kind of starts to go in that direction. Like, it starts to attempt to adjust and stuff. So I was really feeling the cramps. To be honest, the cramps still come every once in a while. By week 6, I had a bit of spotting, even though when I went to the doctor, okay, so by week 6 I wasn't planning to have an ultrasound. I felt like it was too early to even start that process, that I would wait a little longer. But then I woke up one day and I bled like a little bit, even though my doctor actually said that it was probably sex related. Because I had sex like a couple of hours before. Maybe things were a little aggressive, I don't really know why, but there was a bit of bleeding. The time I had the ultrasound, there was a change of my due date as well. The size of the baby wasn't correlating with my last menstrual cycle. The baby was pretty much measuring like maybe a week or so ahead. So Fayomis, we have notoriously big-headed babies, and most of the time they start the measurements with the head, so that is most likely why. I feel like Zoe's head was pretty big. I think all through pregnancy, to be honest, and even of course when I had her head was pretty big. I still feel like her head is big, but I think her body is catching up. Week 6 is when my nausea started. So I was really nauseated in week 6. By week 7 through to 9, I was vomiting. So that's the period in time I was vomiting. I would be crying. As I'm taking things in, they're literally coming out. I would spend so much time next to a bucket. I actually have a picture here that I took for my friend Demi, because we're pregnant sisters. Took for my friend Demi of me sitting next to a bucket, because I used to spend so much time on the toilet with a bucket, because the force of which I would be throwing up, it would be so aggressive that like I would also be peeing. So I had to like sit on the toilet to throw up. I remember one particular day, within that period in time, that I was so tired and I was just really hungry from throwing up a lot of things I had eaten that day. Eventually I decided on crackers. I literally had like half of a cracker. Before I could get down the other half, the first half of the cracker came all the way up, and I just remember crying and just thinking, bruh, as in, how do people do this? It's so different from my first pregnancy. So extremely different. Like my experience so far has made me feel like with Zoe I was not pregnant. Maybe it was closer to the end of the pregnancy that God dropped her into my stomach, because this is just different. Weeks 10 to 11 I stopped vomiting. So I vomited for 2 weeks and I'm so grateful. I know that for a lot of people, nausea lasts all through pregnancy. I know that it lasts all through the first trimester. Like, I know that it can be quite extreme, so I can't really complain. It was still bad. It was terrible, but I can't complain too much because I know it could have been significantly worse. By 10, 11, things were starting to kind of cool down. I had like a weird dry cough, the same dry cough I had when I got pregnant. Like after I got pregnant, that was one of my first symptoms actually as well. I had like a strange dry cough, but I don't know if it's pregnancy related or not. I'm still going to chalk that one up to no, it probably wasn't. I started experiencing shortness of breath from 10 weeks. So from that point in time, anytime I would walk, anytime I would be breathing so aggressively. I started having issues sleeping, started forgetting things. I still had my gas issue. I would just be burping and stuff. I wasn't really farting. I was just mostly burping. I started to not really, at that point in time, I wasn't really enjoying meat. I was gravitating more and more towards towards fish. I wasn't really liking chicken. I wasn't really liking beef. It's as I entered my second trimester now that I've started kind of eating other proteins. At that point in time, I would still eat other things, but I wouldn't be happy with them unless they were fish, or like, yeah, fish or fish-based products were like the things. I was eating a lot of like prawns, eating a lot of like actual fish, salmon if I could find it, sushi that is cooked before anybody comes for me. I started having a tightness in my abdomen, so my body was pretty much already starting to stretch at 10 weeks, which is interesting because so different from my last pregnancy. By week 12, which is the point in time that you officially reach a 3-month mark, if you're really going by that, it's so hard to tell with pregnancy. That's why most people just use weeks, because the months are not measured the same way as they are in everyday life. By week 12, still had shortness of breath, food aversions were still there. I was really dizzy that week. I felt a lot of dizziness. Like I would literally have to like hold on for dear life to just settle myself. And I started having round ligament pain. So I'd have like shocking pains along my stomach, in my joints. I started having like pelvic pain. These pains, I've been able to like manage them a little bit better now, and I think they were also really bad at that point in time because I wasn't as active as I usually am. I usually work out quite often in the week, but because of the nausea from week 7 to 9, I still hadn't gotten back into working out. So I feel like that was also why I was in so much pain. My body was used to being so active, and then all of a sudden I was not doing anything. And I do always feel better when I'm more active. First trimester for me, it was really exciting, to be honest, even with the pain and the nausea that period in time, and not really knowing at that point in time. I didn't know how long the nausea was going to last. So once it started, I kind of accepted that it was probably just going to go on for the rest of the first trimester at least. But I was happy, obviously, that that was not the case. But it just brought about a lot of hormonal changes. I was really emotional at that point in time. I felt really vulnerable. I think it just felt like a lot. At that point in time, I hadn't really said anything to anybody except like people that were like inner circle type thing. We hadn't really said anything to anybody. So it still felt like we're going about life, not really acting as though there was something going on, but something was going on. So I feel like mentally it was a bit draining as well. But it was exciting. But it also felt like the slowest part of the pregnancy. It was one of those things where I felt like I kept on waiting for like a bump. I kept on waiting to feel pregnant. Besides, like, you would think with all these symptoms that would be enough for me to be like, yeah, I'm definitely pregnant. But I feel like when I started feeling really pregnant was when like my stomach popped. It popped so much earlier as well. So I've gotten the opportunity to like really just be cute in my bump. Some people will still say that it's not as pronounced or whatever, but for me, because I have another experience to go by, and naturally, because this is my second pregnancy, I knew that things were going to happen quicker, and that, you know, I was going to pop much earlier than I did the first time, and I definitely did. But like I in my second trimester is when I now feel, sometimes I still don't feel pregnant, to be honest, until I look at my stomach, or like until I have to slow down. Maybe I've gotten up too quickly and all that jazz. But I feel like the first trimester is like a lot of uncertainty. You don't feel any movement. You don't really like, you feel the symptoms, but you don't really feel like you're pregnant. That's just it. You don't feel like you're pregnant because you're still waiting for something exciting to happen. And that first trimester, nothing exciting really happens. The most exciting thing that can happen in the first trimester is you going to the hospital and seeing your baby on an ultrasound. But like when you're getting closer to the second and your stomach starts to like look pregnant, even if you're like smallish and you have like a small bump, I feel like that's when you start to feel the weight in your body, and you feel like the baby's situated in a certain place. It gets a little bit more exciting. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for my second trimester. I've been in it for some weeks now, to be honest. So it's been good so far. I will definitely do another video. I feel like one of the things I missed out on with finding out about my pregnancy so late last time, and all the stress and strain that was attached to it, was documenting these things. I do wish that I had those videos to look back on in this pregnancy, so that I could even more effectively compare and contrast for myself, or I can remind myself of things that I experienced. So that's kind of why I'm documenting this time. I definitely hope that by God's grace, after seeing this pregnancy through successfully and carrying my new baby, wild, I'm really praying that by God's grace I get the opportunity to be pregnant again, and I would love to be able to compare and contrast notes. And yeah, I also want to say, for anybody that is hoping to be pregnant, you're in my prayers. For anybody that just likes to watch these videos, because even when I wasn't really thinking about being pregnant or really wanting to be pregnant before like baby fever or anything like that, I did just love watching these videos. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, if you're pregnant as well, or if you remember your experience being pregnant, let me know in the comments below what your first trimester was like. In one word, just tell me, because I feel like if I was going to describe my first trimester, it was chaotic. It was chaotic, and I'm happy to leave it in the past. I don't want to look back at it again lest I turn into a grain of salt. So that is pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Also, I really want to appreciate you guys for the video that I made it's probably 2 or 3 videos back from now, but I made a video talking about my husband's accident and all the events that kind of unfolded at that point in time, and I really do appreciate the kind words. It gave me a lot of anxiety. A lot of things with social media these days I think gives a lot of people anxiety, but it gave me a lot of anxiety because in as much as in the beginning or before on my social media I was an avid sharer, I feel like the more my little world has expanded, it has been more difficult for me. I'm more analytical about and critical about what it is I should share because there are other people involved, or that kind of thing. But making that video made me feel like the old me that could process something and just let it out exactly how it is. I didn't feel the need to sugarcoat or to act extra brave or to I just felt like I could just be myself, and I mean that's how I am in real life, and I really do hope that I can continue to be like that. The pressures of social media are so confusing. They're so confusing, and I don't feel like the end of this video should be a point in time that I'm talking about it, but I do really appreciate the fact that I constantly get the opportunity to be my authentic self. I appreciate the fact that I never really feel like anybody is expecting me to be more than I am, or to be up to date on trends and have to be on TikTok and be doing all the fun younger things and more exciting things. I'm really appreciative of just being able to be myself. I think that's one of the many blessings that God has given me, is the ability to be myself. But yes, before I forget, do not forget yourself. That you are sugar, you are spice, and you're bomb ass jollof rice. Let me know how you're liking pregnancy content. Let me know if I should keep on going. I probably will anyway, because I do like to watch videos that I personally want to watch. I like to make videos that I personally want to watch. So, bye guys.